Summer, a time of chill parties and hanging out with your friends. Wow. Hey, great. Yeah. Oh, what a cool time. Slap on some shades and hang out with buddies. The Dex is also very ready for summer. It looks good, and we want you to wear it. Drew Wise made it. Buy a shirt for summer and help support the Dex. It looks good, it feels good, and it helps us make cool stuff. Aw, yeah. Wear our cool pink shirts. The hot new look for the summer. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Dex, where every week we talk trivia and battle strategy for a different Pokemon. I'm Janitor Alex.
And I'm Pokekel.
I guess you probably had a nice, relaxing week, huh, Kels?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, Muck is just a pile of goo with eyes, right? It's not really like super trivia heavy. You know, sometimes you just get the easy job.
Sorry, the easy job? Okay, smarty pants, what's thin film interference?
I don't know what.
What's a fumarole?
I don't know.
Chalconthite, galena, orpiment?
Okay, well, those just sound like big made-up words. I don't even know.
Well, get ready to have some knowledge dropped on you haters, because this pile of goo is actually more like a pile of good. Trivia.
See, now, you admittedly had the upper hand there, but then after that pun, I just don't even want to be on your side anymore.
It's Muck. Muck is the sludge Pokemon from all the way back in Gen 1. It seeps an incredibly toxic fluid from its body that can immediately wilt plants and trees and make a human incredibly sick. They gather in places where there is a lot of garbage and pollution, which they eat greedily.
Keep in mind, though, however, that there are two types of Muck. The Kanto variant is dark purple in color and gives off a putrid stench, and the slime trail they leave is so poisonous that nothing can grow where it's walked for 3 years. Its color makes it good at camouflaging in dirty towns and cities, and those who accidentally step on one will become instantly sick and require bed rest.
In the most recent Pokedex installment, it is mentioned that due to environmental cleanup efforts, this variant is becoming less and less common and may eventually go extinct, which I guess is sad? I don't know, its existence literally means there's pollution, but then again, it's a species of animal? Or are Pokemon animals? Does their existence necessarily mean that the natural world is thriving, or... Okay, I gotta chill, I'm starting to sound like Alex.
How is that a bad thing? The Alolan variant of Muck has bands of bright colors on its body and crystals resembling teeth and claws. Unlike the Kanto Muck, Alolan Muck internalize their toxicity, they don't stink at all, and the toxins accumulate into scary dangerous toxic crystals that appear on its body. They're used in trash processing plants to handle all of Alola's garbage, which is actually a win-win for everyone, because if an Alolan Muck runs out of garbage to eat, they go nuts and start breaking things that aren't trash, and let's be honest, nobody has the time for that.
Okay, so how are we feeling so far?
I mean, good, I guess.
What does good, I guess, mean?
It means the main thing we're talking about is what Muck is supposed to be, though, and that's not something you brought up yet.
Okay, so you want me to bring it up then?
Yeah.
Good, because right now it's time for a new and ridiculous segment all about Pokemon and rocks.
Oh, really? What's it called?
Pokemon Rocks. So the origins of Muck's design are pretty ambiguous, since as we've already covered, it kinda is just a pile of goo. But we do have a couple of ideas, so let's hit it. The easiest jump is that Muck is just raw sewage, which tends to have a kind of pale grayish color and stinks like monkey farts. And if this were true, you could argue that Alolan Muck's bright colors are like mold colonies or bacterial colonies, which can vary greatly in color depending on the food source they're growing on. That is pretty gross, though.
But haven't some people said he might be more like an oil spill? I mean, he does kind of look like the kind of thick, dark clumps of sludgy goo you get from a heavy spill, something like boat fuel or crude oil, especially when it spills in water. But aren't the waters of Celadon City referred to as being polluted by a bunch of stinky little Grimer guys? Doesn't that sound like a little more than a coincidence? I mean, it kind of does match up, right? If Kanto Muck is a heavy spill, Alolan Muck is the light version from when you spill something like gasoline or diesel fuel.
Yeah, when paired with water, these types of spills create a colorful rainbow sheen like the ones you see on asphalt when it rains. Remember when I said thin film interference earlier? This is what I was talking about. Since oil and water do not mix, the oil spreads out in a thin layer on the surface of the water, so that light penetrates it from both above and below. This refracts the light and makes it appear colorful thanks to the variations in the surface of the oil layer.
Okay, but now I'm also thinking about Grimer's yellow lips and how they kind of remind me of those little yellow sulfur rings you sometimes see on active volcanoes, especially since there's so many of those in Hawaii, which is obviously the main inspiration for the Alola region.
Yeah, those are called fumaroles. Basically, these holes on and around volcanoes shoot out heated gases from under the earth. One of these gases is sulfur, which deposits bright yellow sediment around the rim or lip of the hole. Plus, sulfur as an element binds super well with a lot of other minerals, which can sometimes create some pretty crazy color combinations. Check out Dalal Volcano in Ethiopia, which boasts an almost alien landscape of bright, vivid colors and crystals.
Huh. So could that maybe refer to those dangerous rocks that form on Alolan muck then? Those toxic crystals sound like something out of a fantasy.
They do, right? But it turns out that sulfur as an element actually has a dark side. When combined with elements like copper, lead, and arsenic, sulfur forms into crystals that are incredibly dangerous. Blue chalconthite basically takes copper and makes it water-soluble, which if accidentally consumed will rapidly shut down the human body. And if you inhale any dust from the brittle, lead-rich galena, it'll instantly poison your lungs. But those are nothing compared to the power of bright red, deadly, neurotoxic orpiment. Its sulfur-arsenic combo is so deadly, it was used by the Chinese for hundreds of years as a poison for their arrow tips. It also turned out to be pretty carcinogenic, which was probably just as bad for the dudes firing the arrows as the dudes being hit. And those orpiment crystals are found growing on these fumaroles that we talked about. So, full circle.
And you know what else that kind of nicely wraps up with a tidy little bow? Sulfur is also one of the 3 philosophical principles of alchemy and represents the soul. Pair that with Sun and Moon's heavy alchemical symbolism and the fact that Alolan Muck's hidden ability is called Power of Alchemy, and that just about seals the deal on the sulfur angle right there, doesn't it? Heck yes it does. And now that I know that, I guess that's why they always say, Pokemon rocks.
See? Pretty cool, right?
I still don't feel great about the name.
Whatever. Don't you have something more important to worry about now?
Oh, yeah, hey! Alolan Muck VGC 17 battle strats start right now!
Knew it. Pokemon!
Muck has always been a cool, if not the most top-tier Pokemon to battle with, but with the extra resistances brought on by the dark typing its Alolan form gets in Sun and Moon, he's back in a big way on the competitive scene. Start with an Adamant one and EV train it in attack, HP, and defense.
Now, we know poison and dark typing brings with it a lot of important resistances, but that little extra bulk can quickly become a huge problem when you suddenly gain an extra 50% HP as an insurance policy. Unlike the citrus berry, which heals you for a fourth of your HP when you dip below half, the figgy berry heals you for half when your HP goes below a fourth. But since Alolan Muck's got access to the ability Gluttony, you can make it so the figgy berry activates at half HP instead, which makes you feel pretty confident if you need to take an extra hit or two. Woo, confusing.
This set can use Poison Jab and Knockoff for some pretty formidable stab moves that each have their own nasty secondary effect. But since you're so bulky, it might be even better to try and get off a curse or two right at the beginning of the match. It boosts your attack and defense one stage at the expense of your speed, but especially with that figgy berry in your pocket, doesn't that seem totally worth it?
And finally, blah blah blah, Protect is always a good call when you're running a bulky build, but that's not the only way to train a Muck, so as always, here are a few random thoughts.
Muck is also a great candidate for the Life Orb if you want to try and run a more aggressive set with a different ability like Poison Touch or the Power of Alchemy. The extra little boost it gives may not seem like much, but when you're fighting someone as scary as Tapu Lele who can still be dangerous even though you resist it and has the power to wipe out whole teams, it can make all the difference.
You can also ditch Protect for Shadow Sneak to get that little extra priority damage you might need to get that crucial KO, which is especially cool since it gets much scarier the more times you use Curse.
Gunk Shot gives you the same 30% poison chance as Poison Jab, but with 25% more power. But you gotta be okay with 20% less accuracy. It's not really for everybody, but it can be great if you're willing to brave the added risk.
And finally, you can get some big dark damage too with Assurance, especially if you've been slowed down by Curse. It's only got 60 power to start, but that literally doubles if you've already taken damage in the same turn. And that first time it hits and your opponent doesn't know it's coming can be a pretty infuriating surprise.
But anyway, that's it. Okay, fine, I take back what I said about you having the easy job. That was a silly thing to say, and I am sorry.
Apology accepted. If you have more info to share or you want to suggest a Pokemon for next time, leave it in the comments below. Or if you want to be the coolest Vaporwave warrior of the summer, buy our brand new Dex shirts on theyeti.com by following the link in our description. And while you're there, be on the lookout for a link to our awesome Discord channel too. It's the tight place to connect with all like-minded Poke friends. And click on the videos here to watch more decks.
Thanks again for watching, and thanks to our Patreon supporters too, because without them, we'd only be able to do the show live, and the only people who'd watch it would be our parents. I'm Janitor Alex.
And I'm PokeKels. Tune in next week for another fiercely loyal episode of
The Dex.